back, folks, to the WP-Tonic Wednesday show. It's episode 285. We got old friend of the show back, John Locke. We're going to be talking about finding your niche. We're also going to be talking about SEO and membership sites. And then in the bonus content, we'll find something else that's going to be really interesting. And we'll tell you closer to the end of the show what that particular topic's going to be. Before I'm going to let John quickly introduce himself and my co-host Kim. John, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Sure thing. My name's John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design, and we do SEO for manufacturing and industrial companies.
Yeah, the heavy lifters, as they say. Kim, would you quickly like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Absolutely. I'm Kim Shivler. I'm a communications instructor and strategist. I help people build teams as well as online courses and membership sites.
As she keeps me under control, folks. I also like to mention that you can watch this show live on Wednesday at around 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Facebook and the WP-Tonic Facebook page. All you have to do is put WP-Tonic show and up it will come. Before we go into this great chat, I just want to quickly mention our major sponsor, which is Kinster Hosting. And what is Kinster Hosting? They only host WordPress. They specialize in WordPress from day one. They're a boutique hosting company, not too small, not to have all the bells and whistles. Superb UX design interface, staging site, all the bells and whistles that you require as a developer, and great for your clients as well. If you're a client that's looking for maximum speed and great support, you're going to get that from Kinster as well. I host the WP-Tonic website with Kinster and some of my clients' websites. We've been totally blown away with their service and the speed and just the staging functionality, just amazing. If that sounds like something you would be interested in, and you should be, go to the WP-Tonic website. There are some banners. There will be links in the show notes. They are affiliate links. You'll be supporting the show if you utilize one of those. And just give us some comments of how you found Kinster in general. I've just found them amazing. So back to our great interview with a real great friend and a friend to the show, John Locke. So basically, a little while ago, you decided that you were going to find a niche, and it's a difficult step to do. Can you quickly go through why you decided that you're going to go in that direction, John?
Absolutely. So, and to give a little backstory, I'll back it up just a little ways here. I didn't start learning like web design until about 2009. From 2012 onward, I was doing a lot of WordPress development, some for local clients, some subcontracting to a lot of agencies, most of them back east really, but doing a lot of generalized WordPress development. And I was doing okay at that for about 5 years or so. But around autumn, late summer, autumn of 2017, I'm like, I really need to mix this up. I need to make a change. And the reason why is there's a couple of reasons. One reason is me and my wife, we talk about wanting to be location independent. Not that we're going to go be digital nomads and travel the world, but we just don't want to necessarily have to live close to a big city to get leads. And in order to do that, we really had to pick a specialization that we could be known for and that we could attract leads for by being, among the best in class at what we're doing. And one of the things that I've really been noticing in the web design world, as far as generalized agencies, even the big agencies, you've seen this, years ago when Tian and Lax closed their doors and the partners all went to go work for Facebook, and a lot of the big agencies in web design in general, we're kind of, starting to scale back. We're starting to really see that in the WordPress world now. And a lot of people have I think the bigger agencies have done fine, but I think just selling WordPress or even, just saying you build on a certain framework or something like that is not enough. I just feel like that market has been really, really saturated, and there's so many WordPress developers out there that it's not really a distinct thing anymore. You have to like pick an actual vertical and a client base that you're going to serve. Now, at the same time that this was happening, I really kind of renewed my interest in SEO. I had some projects when I was first getting into web design around 2011, 2012, where I had done SEO for some side projects and also for some friends and stuff. A friend of mine had opened like a business like here, and I had done some SEO for him. Just as kind of part of like building a site, and he, was ranking like, number one, basically. He's pulling in leads from, Reno and all over Northern California, So I said, I'm pretty good at SEO. I've done it in the past, so I'm gonna try and do that. And the reason why is a lot of these website projects, it's the way a lot of agencies work is they'll build a site, they'll launch a site, and that it's kind of it. You're kind of done. They don't really do maintenance unless you go on a retainer, and a lot of places don't necessarily want to do that. And so, but SEO is a lot different because you're actually measuring what's happening like after, because a lot of people say like, hey, this web design is like great. It's SEO optimized. Well, how do you know it's optimized? Because you're not really measuring it afterwards. You're just moving on from the project and going to the next project in the pipeline. SEO is a different business model because what I do is, I do like one-offs like SEO audits, but for somebody who's like really trying to grow their stuff, it's a monthly retainer, and you have them on there for, usually around 6 months, like minimum is what I say, and sometimes it scales down after that, but you're still doing stuff in the background. So to me, it's like a lot more stable business model. It's something that I'm good at. And, I can also do the web design on top of it, but instead of including SEO as part of the web design, I'm including the web design as part of the SEO. And so it makes a lot more sense. Now, in picking the vertical of manufacturing and blue collar companies is kind of like I had done, you kind of do the thing where you go down the grid of like who can afford to, pay for this stuff, who's going to get the ROI, who do you enjoy serving, and who do you have on your client roster. And I had a couple like blue collar companies already on my roster. I had kind of like a big mix of different like types of clients, but the ones that they're either fabricating or they're manufacturing or they're selling some sort of products like online, those seem to be generating the most revenue, and they seem to be the easiest to work with because I think, and nothing against like, smaller, like maybe like solo like businesses where it's, life coach, author, massage therapist, whatever, what have you. That's fine, but like they're really not going to be able to put in the revenue to get a return like from doing SEO for more than like a month or so. So it just made sense to me to kind of go in that direction. Now the next step that I kind of did was really crafting the message on my site to kind of like really drill down with that. And I kind of wavered, and you'll go back and if you look at archive.org, you could even see when I first like relaunched the site, it was kind of still like wavering. It was like, I was still like saying, we're based in Sacramento, we do, web design and stuff like this. And it wasn't like honed down, but I think like as it is right now, I think like the first words you see when you go to my site now is like, we're doing SEO for manufacturing, and industrial companies, so you can get like more RFQs, which is requests for quotes. It's basically people saying, how much will it cost to build this, or how much will it cost to like, ship this to me? So I'm seeing a lot of success. I have to say that I'm getting, I don't know if it's like the content that I'm writing, because I'm just writing about like, SEO for the most part. I'm not really writing stuff toward like other marketers or other developers anymore. I still have like, stuff on my site from that, but I'm not really pushing it. I'm getting back into YouTube, and I'm making videos that are about SEO that are aimed just at those, helping the clients, and not really at, other marketers, and not really at other like, people who do what I do. Seems to be working because I am getting like inquiries from all over the place, not just here in Sacramento. So there you go. Seems to be working out. The evil plan is, 29% complete.
The
So,
evil plan.
yeah.
Kim, have you got a question?
Yes. How much, when you're dealing with these companies, they're the blue collar, so I think a lot of times, like you said, manufacturing, local businesses, etc.
Mm-hmm.
What strategy do you have, or what is your percentage of really specialized with them on local SEO, like maybe, a car repair place type blue collar, or a bigger manufacturing company where they might be looking for national or international contracts even? How do you break that out, and what's your strategy there?
Okay, that's an excellent question, because I do have both types of clients like that. Now, with local SEO, you're really going to focus more on getting local links and mentioning like local area, like here's the areas we serve. And then usually, and for both of these cases, I'm going to do like a full SEO audit of the whole site. So I can, before I go in and fix everything, I can, show them like, hey, here's where you're at, here's where your competition's at, and here's what I think we should do. And then the next months after that, we're actually doing all that stuff. But it's important to kind of like outline it. With local SEO, you're going to want to, just as a baseline and a foundation, you're going to want to make sure you have all your local citations correct. You're going to want to, possibly have like landing pages for specific areas. I think it's a good idea to have like reviews from like local people, like if you're going to do like landing pages like that, have it on there. Anything like that, they can show that you're part of that community is going to be good. Obviously, you're going to like want to focus a lot more on the Google My Business part and get like local reviews. Yelp is going to be way more important to like local SEO. And if you're in a specific like type of vertical, whether it's, depending on what it is, you're gonna want to maybe get like another like third party type of review system. So if it's like real estate, you're going to want to get reviews from Zillow. If you're like a lawyer, you want to get reviews from Avo. If you're more like a contractor type, you're going to want to maybe get on something like Nearby Now, or like Home Advisor, maybe get reviews there. Angie's List, House. Those are types of things that you're going to want to do. Now for national, it's going to be a lot more about matching what the user intent is. And one of the things that I break down in SEO audits is, let's look at what's actually ranking on page 1. Why is Google, let's like really try and figure out, why is Google putting these ones up at the top? Why are all these ones above you? And so it's looking at not just like the content on the page and the words that they use and the backlinks that they have. All those things are totally important, but it's what is the user actually coming here to do? Because you'll see like sometimes, and especially like if you're selling industrial products, some of the things that like rank up high, it's like, here's just like a page like of the categories of the different things that they're selling. Why is this up here? Some of the ones are really obvious, like say you'll go to a page and it'll have like all the product information, and it answers like every question that the customer could have, and maybe it has like, product reviews and, things like that. But sometimes you'll see patterns emerge too, like say, if you're searching using like these particular phrases, you're looking for the cheapest version of this industrial product. And if you use like these types of phrases, maybe you're looking for like a higher end version of that type of product. So it's really, and looking at the layout of the page, sometimes certain search phrases are purely informational. You're not going to rank like selling a service or for those terms. people are asking a question. And then other terms are going to be, you have to have some sort of ability for them to either buy the product or get a quote on the product, because that's the only thing that's going to satisfy that searcher intent. So it's really just looking at the patterns. Obviously, you're going to want to, have good content that answers all those questions. So a product page, and then all the supporting informational content in the site that other sites that are like ranking really well have. And then, trying to figure out like how you can do something that's a little bit different, so you're not, complete carbon copy. You don't want to do that either. And then the basics, just getting on fast hosting, making sure that all, technical SEO is right. No 404s, having nice, short, clear URLs, and making sure that you have a backlink profile that doesn't suck, because that's a lot of SEO companies. They don't. Some of them just invest into backlinks and they just get them from anywhere, and that's not going to help. And then some SEO people will not, build backlinks at all, and that's not going to help you either, because honestly, I mean, you need content's important, but you're not going to rank without links. You're just not. So,
I think that was great. Before we go to the break, I've got one final question. Like I say, before we go to the break, do you think this niche process? Do you think you've probably been thinking this yourself? Do you think you've taken it further enough, and maybe you should just focus on one industry, one industrial industry?
Maybe. But I think for now it's casting a wide net. I think if I was to get a bunch of the same types of clients, it might end up like competing against one another, and that might be a little tricky.
Yes.
So I think for right now, it's the right, it's dialed into the right intensity. So.
Yep, that's a really good point. Thanks for that, John. We're going to go for our break, folks. When we come back, we're going to be talking about SEO around membership sites and what John thinks. If you're looking to start your membership site, or if you've got a membership site, what are some of the things you've got to consider to get that traffic to have a successful membership website? We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. We've had a great discussion with my friend John Locke about SEO and about why he's niched his own agency, and why that's, I totally agree with John, why that's so important. So onto the subject of membership sites. So you already have covered some of the things, but what are some of the considerations? Somebody's got a lot of balls in the air when it comes to a membership site. They've got the technology, the content, and then they've got to get people to the site. So if you had somebody approaching you with a membership site, what would be some of the advice you would give them around SEO, John?
Well, there's a couple things that you're going to really want to do. And I think first is have a lot of great free content. I think where a lot of membership sites jump the gun is just expecting people to buy into their stuff without really having, gotten that brand loyalty. If you look at like a product ladder, free content would be the lowest rung. Maybe like some sort of, ebook or small product might be next. You want to obviously get people on some sort of recurring membership thing where they're, buying into your paid content. But I think your free content needs to be almost as good. And for a couple of reasons. If you don't have good free content, you're not going to build up an audience that's going to be necessary to, build a viable business off of. People talk about having 100 true fans. If you have 100 true fans that buy everything that you put out, you can have a business. But to get those 100 true fans, you're going to probably need thousands of casual fans first. So building things up, you got to get good at content creation. So the free content on your site, whether that's like podcasts, videos, written content, maybe a mix of all three. And I think also pushing out to, your email list, making sure that you're doing something unique within your emails as well that's providing value to people. I think it takes a lot of touches to really get people to buy into any sort of membership these days. You really have to be hammering it. So if you're not good at creating content on a daily basis, it's going to be difficult. Second thing I would say is definitely get allies that can help you promote that. I think you see that in the WordPress space. A lot of people do that pretty well. And I think the WordPress space is generally built to be good at that, where you have people like kind of promoting each other in a way that everybody benefits. And so when somebody does have a membership offering, or they have a product launch or like a course, you're generally aware of it because people, do podcast tours. Shout out Kai Davis. So those are the two things that I would say overall. But when it comes down to like a granular level, when you're first trying to get that content to have traction, make sure you're paying attention to things like page titles, meta descriptions, making sure that you're the key phrase that you're trying to target with people. Say if you have a particular keyword that you're trying to get people to buy into, make sure that it has searches. For one, that people are searching for it. Like say if you were gonna, whatever, freelancing course, start freelancing, something like that. Make sure you have that in the page title. Make sure you have it in the actual content. Make sure the URL is like that. Be clever, but not like overly clever, because you still want to be found in organic search. And then, try and get other people to link to it and promote it. Like when you go on podcasts, when you go on videos, make sure that people know about it. So that's just my general advice.
That's great. Kim, got a question?
Yes and no. I'll comment more, and then I want to hear John's feedback on that. So one of the things when I work, since I work specifically with people on membership sites, a lot of times our membership site piece itself has no SEO involved with it. It's a subdomain that's completely segmented. Their main site is where they're building their audience. Once it's built, and many of these people have done it over years and years and years. So by the time they launch the membership site, they've got a webinar with 10,000 people that came on the webinar. And we segment out the membership site because then we don't have people actually logging into our forward-facing marketing site. So we're looking at it. A lot of times when I work with clients, we're doing a completely different strategy. The marketing site's everything you said about the content. And then we keep the membership piece completely separate. It's a subdomain fully locked down. And other than the landing page, that if somebody finds that they're not being driven to from the main site, the email lists, in a couple of these people's cases, even large television exposure, not just podcast exposure. So we're doing it that way, which we're just driving them to that main site. Okay. Your thoughts on that type of strategy?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. That's totally, I totally don't have a problem with that. I think that is totally beneficial. You're basically trying to get them hooked into your brand. I mean, ultimately that's it, what you're going for. It's almost not even about, SEO is just kind of the hook that gets people in. Maybe they read like, an article and then another article and they keep seeing your name. And pretty soon they're, subscribing to your, email list. Maybe they're watching your YouTube, and then, finally they're, taking the plunge on, joining your membership site. So I think that's totally fine.
Well, I think in an interesting way, this is also linked to our previous our discussion in the first half of the show, John, is that I think what Kim's just described is a client that's already built an established audience. But let's say you're trying to build content based on your experience, but you're also building your audience as well at the same time, which is a much harder road, but it's still achievable. But I think it's only achievable, funny enough, if you got to niche. You got to really focus on probably a smaller niche audience to start off with than what you think you should. What's your thoughts around that, John?
Well, I think definitely, yeah. I mean, yeah, you want to be solving for one person. So definitely, like, imagine that person in your mind, like, who they are, what they desire, what is the better version of themselves that they want to be. Somebody like Ramit Sethi, he has his site, I Will Teach You to Be Rich.com. And at first, it took him a long time to get traction. A lot of people, derided him, but it's basically, he's aiming at a certain type of person who's trying to either negotiate like a higher salary or earn more money. And all his content, like, consistently over time has been breaking down like why traditional financial advice doesn't work, and what you should do instead. But he's solving for a very specific type of person. And like I said, like, any successful membership site, it's going to have a specific avatar in mind. Curtis McHale, he has basically like a coaching or mastermind group, but it's specifically for people who are creative entrepreneurs. That they're not even just creative entrepreneurs, but people who want to, spend more time with their family, people who are like more family focused. They have small kids that they want to spend more time with. They don't want to spend all their time like working and miss that time. So it's a very specific avatar. So yeah, I do agree with that.
What do you think, Kim? Your experience of working with clients, do you think that if they're not at that stage where they've got a massive audience, so they're trying to build an audience plus the course as well, they're going to have to really niche at a very tight market niche, which then they can start to get some traction. Would you agree with that, Kim?
Yeah, I always recommend for people to really address a specific niche and not go too broad. Actually, no matter how large they are, how big of an audience they are, because the more you focus towards a specific audience, the more you're going to address and find the true fans that are going to buy everything you have. So I think that no matter what, now I still, even with people building out their new audience, in many, many cases, I will still divide it into two sites: a branding marketing site that brings them in, and then their learning platform, membership platform, etc., so that you're managing the two differently as far as where people are logging in and accessing that hidden content. But absolutely, on that branding site, the more that you can target your audience and speak just to that audience, the easier it's going to be to grow faster.
And I think doing that kind of SEO research around key phrases is a good way, because obviously you don't want to take this too far, that there's only like 10 people in the world that are interested in that specific niche. But on the other hand, doing basic SEO research on numbers will give you an indication if there's enough traffic and enough interest. And then you've got to make some kind of judgment call, qualifying, are people interested enough that they will pay to join a course for that particular subject? What do you reckon, Kim?
Absolutely, because there are things people search for that they don't pay for.
No,
absolutely.
And what do you think, John, there? How do you make that kind of, do you look at maybe what people are paying Google in AdWords around particular key phrases? Can that be an indication that there's profit in that particular area?
I think for some things, well, definitely, I yes and no.
Yeah.
I think for Google phrases that are going to be a lot of money, it's usually there's usually a lot of profit to be made. I would tend to think from what I've seen that a lot of the phrases that would be around membership sites might not necessarily have a high AdWords cost, but what I would look at is how many people are searching for certain things. And again, and if you're pulling like the people in your network, like, would you pay for this? Don't go by that. No. Only go by like, do people actually shell out hard-earned money for this? That's it. Yeah.
And you also got to see if there's a pain. You got to really do research on the questions people are answering about your particular subject, don't you, John? And get a broad idea. Is there enough conversation out there and enough pain or enough interest in the topic that you could provide a membership site that will resolve their problems?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it is just, there's only a few things that people really pay for when you break it down. They want to make more money, they want to be healthier, or they, want to have like a better standard of living. I mean, those are really like the few things that people are gonna, pay for. Make more money or be in better shape or something like that. Be a better version of yourself. Is trying to figure out like, is how many people are wanting to be a better version of themselves around the thing that you're offering. How can you help them get there? And just tapping in and finding those people that have that desire.
That's great. We're going to close it down now, folks, for the actual podcast part of the show. John's going to stay on with us. And in the bonus content, we're going to discuss some recent articles that he's seen that says, just producing great content will get people to your site, and what John thinks around those conversations. John, what kind of client are you looking? What are the best fit clients for you? And how can people get hold of you in general and find out more about you, John?
Sure thing. So my best fit type of client are companies that were formed in the last 5 or 6 years that are making around $250K to $50 million. Most of them are in that $500,000 to $1 million range. And you're selling either some sort of industrial service or an industrial manufactured product, and you have a lot of established competitors that you're trying to beat. You're trying to overcome them and figure out how to get more traffic and customers through SEO. How you can find me is at my site, which is lockdowndesign.com.
That's great. And Kim, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to, Kim?
You can find me at kimshivler.com.
Oh, that's great. And if you want to find more about WP-Tonic, like I say, we're a service company that only specialise in maintaining and supporting our clients around WordPress with a speciality of membership and learning management systems. It's a passion for me, and it's just a great vertical for me and my team to help you get the results that you're looking for. Also, if you want to support the show, go to iTunes and get us a review. It really does help the show. And I periodically read some of them out, which is fun. And it does really help the show. So we'll be, like I say, you can watch more of this interview with John on the WP-Tonic website. We're going to be discussing some recent articles that he's read and wants to comment on. And that should be good stuff. And we'll see you next week, where we're going to have somebody doing something interesting with WordPress. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. So, John, so this article, so you gave a quick summary. So it's about this old red herring, I think, in a little bit, is that you just need to produce good content and everything else will sort itself out. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, that's basically it. So this was a thread that was in Hacker News on I will put it in chat so you can put it in show notes later. But basically, it was saying that, just produce good content and you will, well, I think this is the same one. Maybe this is the wrong one. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, it's basically saying, like, produce good content, you'll get links. But the problem with that is, most people that are trying to rank well don't really have time to produce great content and don't know how to hire someone to do it for them. And the second problem with that is even if you have really great content, like a 3,000 word article that breaks something down into the most minute detail, it's not always going to rank, and especially if your site doesn't have links coming into it. Content, I agree, is very important. User experience is very important. But I really don't trust any SEO people that don't have some sort of, link strategy or, are doing some sort of, link building. It could be outreach. It could be all manner of things, but like I said, what works for us in the marketing world as far as, doing a podcast tour or sharing things on Facebook or inbound.org or all manner of things are not going to really generate links for every type of client. So you need to figure out how to build links for them.
Well, especially in your area, that must be have you come to any particular strategies when you're dealing with manufacturing that work in building external links? Because the same principles would apply to all industries, but there are specific areas, and when it comes to manufacturing, what really are great external links that linking back to you might be a bit different, won't they?
Yeah, they definitely will. So there's an article that well, for one, you're going to want to get like a baseline, like a foundation. And like I said, this is not like a complete linking strategy, but a lot of places that have started in the last 5 years or so are not going to be able to get the same links as places that have been around for like 20 years, because some of the sites that are linking to those are not really actively maintained so much. But you're going to want to be on some of the main directories that sell industrial products or, supply to manufacturers. And those would be IQS, McRae's Blue Book, mfg.com. There's a whole list of them that I have on my site. I'll link that one up in chat.
Because I think you're making a great point there, and it also it applies to membership sites as well, is that you need to look at your competitors' external links as well, because that will tell you how difficult it. I'm presuming I'm correct on this. I'm not an expert on SEO like you, but as I've done a fair bit of studying on the subject, is that you've got to look at your main competitors' link structure, where they're getting these external links, and that'll give you a very good idea probably of what you're going to have to do to get a similar link structure. Am I talking any sense there, John?
Yeah, you're talking a lot of sense. And so, for example, I have one client, he sells like industrial products. And for some of the searches that we're trying to rank for, Harbor Freight is number one. Now, that's kind of a place where you get low-end stuff, tools that are just kind of, they're good enough. They're not really, not everything that they sell is necessarily for everyday use, but it's it's kind of like Walmart for, a lot of tools. So they've been around since the beginning of the net. They've got 800,000 backlinks from, 5,000 different sites. You're not going to be able to beat them when it comes to backlinking with that. But you do need to look at like everybody that's above you and try and figure out like what which of these links is actually moving the needle. And one thing that I would say is, and definitely don't just get any old backlinks. Don't submit to every single link directory. What you're going to want to do is submit links. You're going to want to get links that are going to drive traffic. If you're getting links from sites that are not going to drive any traffic ever, it's not really going to move the needle for you.
That's great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Kim, based on your experience, Kim, of a load of discussions with people looking at starting membership sites, are they aware of SEO when it comes to being really important in their membership being successful? Is it something that they bring up on the top of the list, or is it something that you've got to bring to them how important all the things we've discussed are?
Well, in my experience with people, they understand that SEO is important. They don't necessarily look at it separate for the membership site itself, as opposed to the strategy of, on our branding site, how are we going to make sure we're getting the links, getting the traffic that talks to what we're going to have in our course or our membership? Because sometimes they're disjointed in their mind as to, okay, I've built this branding site, but then they're thinking of this membership site and it's actually off topic for what they're being known for. And so nothing's going to help, right? You're not bringing in the right traffic for your membership or your online course, etc. It has to be that same message. So I find people more, it's not that they don't think about needing SEO, it's that they're not tying their overall brand strategy and what they're bringing in, what they want to focus SEO on, and making sure that their product, whether that's membership, online course, or any other product they're selling, even if it's books, are on topic. Because if they're not, then you're not going to have any flow through. It's just completely disjointed.
And I think it's also linked to our previous guest conversation when we had Judy on, is that I think it's always best to have, and it's linked to what John said in the first part of the conversation, is having a smaller course, having great free content, but having a smaller course at a lower price band than maybe your complete course, because it's a buying process. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And John, I just, you put the link and I jumped over there and looked at it. And one of their really big points is that you can't just use tactics anymore for SEO. You have to have a much more in-depth strategy that does tie in your content, your messaging, et cetera, tied in. And it can't just be a bunch of different little tactic strategies that are going to work, that it really is a bigger picture thing these days.
And I think, sorry, go on, John.
Oh, I was just going to say, I love what you said, Kim, because you made everything has to stay on topic. It has to stay on point, in your messaging, in your marketing, everything that you're putting out there. And I totally agree with that.
And in a way, to finish off our conversation, that is helped by selecting a niche, because you naturally talk about, keeps you on topic, doesn't it? It keeps the site on topic. The more you can nicheify, which doesn't exist, folks, it's a word I created, but the more you can niche, the more the message will be on topic, won't it, John?
Yep, that's right. Absolutely.
So I think we've had a great conversation here. Thank you so much, John, and also my co-host, Kim. Next week, we'll, like I say, as I always say, we'll have somebody doing something really interesting in WordPress. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.